A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0 once again. But now let's talk a bit of seriousness here. Something that a lot of you probably are wanting to know about me for a good long time. What kind of new games am I going to be playing? Well, you know what? There's probably a lot of things that you probably have no idea about me when it comes to that sort of stuff. Video games of all sorts. There's a reason why I do have GWK up and running, and it's been going constantly since early 2017. Though, as I've mentioned before, it doesn't necessarily count because the likes of such things, including paranoia and suspicion, have forced me to delete that sort of stuff. So all of 2017's gaming content, which I've officially considered GWK by this point, is all gone. Can't find it anymore. But in 2018, however, was a totally different story. So of course, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then of course, with all the expansions that I put together, simply makes this the largest franchise that I've ever had to offer in history. So it's really saying a lot, considering the fact that I've managed to put in tons of effort elsewhere. Content of all sorts is simply up and around all the time. And I'm especially proud to do whatever I possibly can to make sure you get your time and money's worth. Paying for those internet bills, or electric bills, at the very least. So maybe the biggest thing about all of this is just the fact, some people have asked, why is my Google form not open? And that's simply because I used to run a Google form that would simply be around for requests that would pretty much ensure that I play certain games that would be based off of people's requests. And I also used to do a lot of shoutouts in 2018 and 2019 with all sorts of requests that people have been wanting me to play. But in 2017, of course, was when I first opened this forum. It was specifically meant to showcase what kind of games should I buy or should I play. And in 2018 and 2019, I pretty much just used this forum as a way to motivate me to play certain titles that I would in fact be using for GWK content as a whole. And since 2020, it has been probably one of the most active forums I've ever made regarding any kind of content that I've ever put together. Now, I don't necessarily use Google Forms much anymore, and that's because in late 2021, at a time where I was supposed to move out and give myself another home, I had to do a lot of abandonment. Abandon a lot of stuff of mine at the original house that I've lived at. But maybe that will have to be saved for another time, so let's just get back on track here. Some people have asked, what kind of games am I going to be playing? Well, it's pretty simple. The likes of brand new titles that we have going on right now. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Retold, Construction Simulator, Sonic Frontiers, Dark Pictures Part 4, The Devil in Me, as it's called. Alongside the likes of a bunch of other new releases, including Saints Row, and even some more 2023 releases. Yeah, I will most likely be able to continue on with that sort of work into 2023. Even though I really wanted to retire from all this gaming stuff because, after all, I did an awful lot of stuff. Throughout the past 3 years alone, I've certainly made a crap ton of gaming videos that will definitely be around for years to come. Terabytes worth. Literally. All that time I've spent doing gaming and all that pretty much is going to allow for that much data to be put together in the hopes that, well, at some point I will have it up on the channel. With all the years that I have planned for this type of content, GWK is going to be on the channel for probably years to come. At least a decade could pass before eventually it might die off, just like with other franchises I've had. I've shut down Nerf Secret Revealed with the original series ending in 2020, and then of course with all the expansions and the like, they've come and gone for the most part. While I will continue to piece together new seasons worth of work for each series that I have, each franchise that I've created over the years. They certainly don't have an infinite supply on them. And that's the one thing a lot of people just don't ultimately expect. Of course, there were times when we were kids and we've always wanted to see more and more and more of whatever franchise we loved. I especially remember when How to Train Your Dragon first came out in 2010. This was a movie I was not really excited about seeing. I was more focused about Diary of a Wimpy Kid because I really loved the Jeff Kinney book series itself. So much so, I was more than excited to know that there was a live-action film series up and about. With the first movie set for release in 2010, that and How to Train Your Dragon pretty much became amazing movies in my life. Some of the best I might have seen, period. But once again, How to Train Your Dragon wasn't really something I was bent on seeing until I actually saw it in theaters in the year 2010. I was beyond dazzled by what it showed. The kind of bond between people and dragons, unlike what originally was concepted on them. So, I was more than excited to know that there could be other stuff in the future. The TV shows came out, mobile apps were out. Eventually, in 2014, after a long time of waiting, there eventually came a sequel. Another 5 years would pass, and then another sequel would come out. Well, let's just say that these days, I certainly have been doing a lot of How to Train Your Dragon related material. I even played the official title known as Dawn of New Riders for the PS4, the latest installment in How to Train Your Dragon related gaming and media as a whole. So, that's just pretty much how I was bent on that part. And it's that same exact sort of thing that we had in our childhood where sometimes we see certain things and we beg for more. Eventually it comes to you. But the biggest thing though is the fact that this stuff takes time to make. There was a good reason why it took 4 years to create a sequel to How to Train Your Dragon, another 5 years, and a third film came out. Well, the same thing would probably be likely with the likes of a good majority of things that I would probably have to do. If I'm at this alone or possibly with other people who offer assistance whenever they can, surely even then it could still take quite a while for me to generate content by all accounts. Here with the Vlog-A-Thon, for example, this is sort of a lone wolf operation where I'm simply sitting out here on a picnic bench right here with a wall against me serving as just a backdrop that hopefully gives the sort of mood that I currently have. The kind of which that simply is going to be inspirational enough for me to simply talk about whatever's on my mind and hopefully rest easy tonight. But let's just not forget the main thing about this. Gaming content also takes a lot of time to make. As I've mentioned before, I do the screen capture process on my PlayStation 4 using the included share feature, a type of recording software that does in fact allow for video clips and screenshots to be saved to your internal storage drive. So, since the very beginning of GWK, when I used this feature for the very first time, I certainly have been using this feature, hitting that button thousands of times. And I suppose even then, it's still going to be a lengthy process. To capture the footage is one thing when it comes to playing games and creating GWK content at the same time, but it's also about how I extract the footage, which is typically done with a USB drive, copying the files to the drive, taking the drive out, putting it in my laptop, which I use for editing my videos, getting the editing software launched, getting the footage together, having it rendered, having it edited, clipped, set in the effects, and all that good stuff, and then render the videos, and that's how I create a GWK episode in a nutshell. So of course, that's just pretty much how I do all of this at once. So maybe this is probably going to be a big factor to hopefully allow you to understand that no matter what it possibly takes, GWK is a lengthy process from start to finish, no matter what it is. And I'm sure a lot of people out there have already figured this out. Other people who may be just coming to my channel just to see me talk to a camera, possibly in the middle of nowhere. But may I remind you though, these things take time. So with that in mind, that pretty much just concludes this piece of the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0. And hopefully, now that we have a better understanding, we can both continue on with our lives and our work at hand. A lot of us do work here that's worth getting paid for. And some of us really regret applying for such hard work. But I am more determined than ever because the pay is constantly rising on my end. Quickly promoted for being a smart, fast learner and for being very helpful and cooperative and extremely understanding of things as they are. So of course, you do the job right, you get more than just rewards that you truly deserve. So in that sense, thank you very much for watching this part of the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0, and I'll be sure to see you in the next installment when that comes out.